What's up, hockey fans? This is episode 104 of the Clappercast. Happy Thanksgiving to all those people in Canada this last weekend. I'm Burke, and as always, joined by my co-host Sean. Sean, how's it going, man?
Just stoked. We're recording this on October 12th. It's about an hour from puck drop on the 2021-22 season between Pittsburgh and Tampa Bay. So it's just going to be great to get hockey back on TV again. Kind of running out of Netflix shows to watch.
Yeah, man, it's going to be exciting. We did a lot of work doing our season previews for each team, and it was kind of a lot of fun to write those up. So, if anyone hasn't checked those out, please go to our website and check them out. Look at your favorite team. There's been, already, since we've posted those, there's been some changes amongst teams. So,
major changes.
I'm super excited.
And one of the cool things is seeing, it's always nice to see the handful of prospects and younger players who are making the NHL out of the training camp. And we've got a handful of them this year as well, with Mason McTavish in Anaheim, William Eklund in San Jose. Cole Perfetti, I think, has made the Jets, and Seth Jarvis has made the Hurricanes. So there's some exciting young talent, and these guys are all pretty highly touted. So it'll be fun to tune in and see how these guys transition up to the NHL.
Yeah, there's some exciting ones. I saw that Broberg on the Oilers, and then they sent Kyle Turris down to the AHL.
Yeah, so the Broberg one I'm not 100% sure on. I saw other talking that he's going to be sent down tomorrow or something. It's kind of like a paper transaction to keep him up right now.
Okay.
Because they are rolling 13 forwards, 8D right now, and Broberg's the 8th guy. So I saw one of the Oilers writers on Twitter mention that they'd call someone else up tomorrow and send Broberg down. But I also wouldn't be surprised if they keep him up, because it'll be kind of the same treatment that Evan Bouchard got a couple seasons ago, or last couple seasons anyways, where he spends a lot of time in the press box just watching and learning, getting a game here and there.
Yeah, it's always an exciting time when teams are making their final cuts and you see oh my God, that guy made the team, and that guy didn't, and you've got all these guys on PTOs they're signing deals. Me and you were talking earlier about the Alex Chason. He was on a PTO at the Canucks. He ended up signing a league minimum. So the Canucks just got rid of all of their former Capitals, and now they bring in Chason. So they've got to have a guy from that 2018 Caps team.
Exactly.
And then Brian Boyle, he was on a PTO at Pittsburgh, so he signed. So, someone who can play bottom six, probably bottom three center for them, since their center depth is just devastated right now. But yeah, it's cool seeing all these different rosters, surprises going into the season.
Yeah, with Edmonton, Brandon Perlini scores 6 goals in 6 preseason games.
Yeah, out of nowhere.
He's signed to a contract, so it's not a PTO or anything, but he goes and does that in the preseason, and you kind of worry. For me as an Oilers fan, I started worrying that they keep Perlini on the NHL team and try and send Benson through waivers or something, and they lose Benson on waivers, and then Perlini would score 1 goal in 25 games and then get sent down to the AHL anyways.
That would be a very Oilers thing to happen.
It would.
And then the kind of the most interesting one, I think, out of all those those roster moves is in New York for the Rangers. Vitaly Kravtsov got sent down. Was
big news,
and he's saying he's not going to report, and there's a rumor that he's got approval to seek a trade, and it's okay. All right. So I guess he's just taking the Shipachyov kind of approach of, no, I came to America to play in the pro or in the top league. I'm not going to play down in the AHL. Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah. I could see some GMs taking flip a whatever pick for him, but I could see some other guys being a little bit hesitant to, what happens if we want to send you down?
See, like you said, there should be some other teams that might want to take a flyer on him, but there's so many teams with just terrible forward depth that it's why not? Because he'd have a spot in the middle 6 on Buffalo for sure, or Buffalo, Arizona, or Anaheim's not particularly deep either. He'd have a middle 6 spot on those teams, so there's no reason that they wouldn't be able to keep him in the NHL for the long term.
Yeah.
And if they don't, then I imagine his desire is to either play in the NHL or go back home. So can't the Rangers just loan him back to Russia, whichever team he was with there?
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. Interesting moves and news, and our focus of today's episode is we kind of wanted to give our picks for the top spots in each division. We'll start with the Atlantic Division. I don't see a reason why not to. So, Sean, who's your pick for the Atlantic? I think obvious choice, I think.
Yeah, so the Atlantic is a crazy one because it's so top heavy with having Tampa Bay, Boston, Toronto, and Florida now all in the same division. I think the division title is going to come down to Tampa Bay and Florida. That it's going to be a pretty close battle between those two. Just, Tampa Bay, obviously, back-to-back Cup champions, are going for a third straight. They're just going to have to adjust to losing their entire third line and having a whole bunch of newer players coming in and trying to fill that. And they even ended up losing Alex Barre-Boulet on waivers earlier this week. That was a big loss because he was supposed to be one of those guys taking over in the third line. So we'll see how Tampa Bay adjusts to having to replace that entire third line, and they got a lot of new players on their fourth line as well. So I think it's going to be kind of path wide open for the Panthers. Bringing in Sam Reinhart, I think Anton Lundell is probably playing a lot of time this season. It's just they've got such good forward depth right now. They've got Ekblad's going to be back. They're playing with Weegar, who had that massive breakout last season. Hopefully Bobrovsky's decent, but if not, then Spencer Knight looked great at the end of last year, coming in as the backup. So probably could see another Chris Driedger thing where Knight just takes over the crease for a bit. But I think Florida's got the division this year. Yeah,
you think Florida? Florida's actually my sleeper cup winner. When I was doing the write up for them, I did the write up for them, did I? Or did you? I can't remember. Anyway,
you would have.
I think I did because I remember trashing Bobrovsky a bit. It's been a while. I've had a lot of other ones that I had to write after that. They add Jumbo Joe. They add Ollie Levy, I guess, too, from the Canucks. So a little bit of cheap defense depth. Maybe he can skate a bit more on a bag skate in the heat than he can in the rain in Vancouver. So I don't know, but yeah, I mean, I think them getting rid of Yandel and bringing in, I don't know, just to have a bit more solid of a defensive core. They've.
It's kind of at that point where they just have to make the little tweaks. They don't have to do anything huge in that position. They made some bigger moves in other positions, but with defense, it was kind of, fairly stagnant.
Yeah, they brought in Montour last year at the deadline, and so he's in his first full season there. I think that they've got a solid top four. They've got Gudas, who hits everything. They added a little bit of depth. I like their team a lot. I still think Tampa Bay will win the division. I do think that they're going to be able to recover from that loss of the third line, but I do think it's going to be a lot closer than perhaps the last go around. But I mean, it's interesting too because we're going back into not locked in divisions. You're going to be playing people outside of the division. So
yeah, and that's an important consideration because now. Tampa Bay, Florida, they're going to be playing against the best of the rest of the league too, and not just within their own division. They can feast on who are they with? Detroit and Buffalo last season? No, Detroit last season, I think.
Yeah, they're not just going to be able to beat up on teams like Dallas and
yeah.
I mean, Dallas is probably a bad choice because they lost a lot of close games, but they're going to be playing against a lot of other people, and Tampa Bay has proven that they can beat. Whoever they come up against. I think. What's that?
While we're on the division too, Boston and Toronto are still there as well, and they're absolutely competitive in here. But I think Boston's probably on a bit of a downswing compared to Tampa and Florida. I don't think Boston will compete for the division title, and Toronto's such kind of a wild card. I find with that because they're entering the season with Matthews missing the first week or so. And Marner got hurt in practice earlier this morning, so who knows if he's even going to be able to play in the opener tomorrow. So I like what Toronto did in the offseason. I think we've covered them in past episodes. But it's another one where it just, matched up against Florida and Tampa Bay. I don't think Toronto quite has enough.
Yeah, I think Toronto will be third in the division. I think it is going to be Tampa, Florida, then Toronto, and Boston. I think they're still a strong team, but I think they did a good job to replace the things that they lost, but to me that their bottom pairing is going to be pretty weak. Of Dermott and Sandin's going to be good offensively, but I don't know. I just like Tampa Bay, having Vasilevsky in net. He's so unbelievable.
And that's such a difference maker, comparing him to, like Toronto's got Mrazek and Jack Campbell, Boston's got Allmark and Swayman. They're all good goalies, and they've all proven success at the NHL level, but just they are not even close to coming onto Vasilevsky's level.
Yeah, and let's not forget here that Kucherov is going to be in the lineup from day one, and they did everything they did last season in the regular season without him. So, yes, they did lose some depth, and yes, they lost guys like Tyler Johnson and their whole third, fourth line, whatever, but they got Kucherov back.
Yeah,
so
they've got 100 points right there that they're getting back into the lineup. So
yeah, so and they replaced their guys with people like Corey Perry and Pierre-Edouard Bellemare, and brought in some other guys. So I think they're pretty set, and they got Brian Elliott as a backup. So if Azzy needs a night off, they've got a capable backup in Elliott. So I think it's hard to bet against Tampa at this point. They've gone back to back. So I'm taking them again. It's I don't like Tampa Bay, so it's hard for me to do. But proof's in the pudding. They're good. So I'll take them. But I do think that Florida is probably the best team that they've ever had. And so I think that they'll be definitely in that fight for first, whether it's against Tampa or Toronto or Boston, whoever. I think that Florida's going to be the team to beat, like coming out of this division, I think. Okay, well, anything else about any of these other Atlantic teams? Who do you think is going to be in the bottom? Detroit?
Yeah, Detroit. Buffalo.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I forgot Buffalo's in that division. Yeah, no, Buffalo's last by far. Detroit's probably going to be down there too, pretty close, but they're at least going to be decent to watch because they're going to get like Moritz Seider in the lineup. They've got Lucas Raymond starting.
Yeah, exciting
in the NHL, so that's going to be fun. I put Ottawa at 6th and Montreal at 5th. I know you would disagree with me on that one, I think.
Yeah, I just think with Ottawa, like, especially with like Price not being there now.
Yeah.
I had Ottawa, above Montreal even with Price. But I don't know. I mean, Montreal's been having a tough off season, and I don't think they're going to be in playoffs. And if Ottawa signs Brady Tkachuk, if he gets in there, I think that they're going to be better than them. But I don't know. I just think Ottawa had such a strong, last third or last 20% or whatever of the season. Like they won like 13 of 15 or something like that, and
they were a playoff-paced team in the last stretch.
And they only missed playoffs. They were only like 6 or 4 points behind Montreal. So
basically the only reason they didn't make the playoffs is because of how badly they got beaten up by the Oilers.
Yeah.
If they had played against every other Pacific or North Division team as they did against, if they didn't play against Edmonton, or I can't
if they had a better record against Edmonton,
there we go.
Could have won. And they lost like all 7 or 8 or whatever games.
Yeah,
they just had a terrible opening road trip. Like they lost 10 of the first 12 or something like that. So
they were getting beaten up every game.
But they really turned it around, and I like what has happened in the offseason, with the exception of not signing their guy. So apparently they're doing everything they can, but the season starts today, so
it's not close.
Yeah.
Apparently, I saw earlier that it's no closer now than they were a month ago.
Ugh. Yeah.
They're just struggling. I think there's a huge discrepancy between what Tkachuk's party wants and what the team wants to give.
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, he's just such a huge part of that team. So, you got to figure it out. Okay, well, I guess we'll move on to the Central Division. This one, I think, is probably pretty clear cut. I think it's Colorado Avalanche are going to be the winners in this division.
Have to agree with you there.
After them, I think it might be a bit of a struggle between, I don't know. I guess Winnipeg and St. Louis would probably be.
I'm putting Winnipeg as a clear-cut number 2 in the division, and Winnipeg to me is actually my like wild card cup pick.
Yeah,
I think just because of how good and sustainable they've been the last 2 seasons with no defense on Connor Hellebuyck's back, that they now have like an actual NHL level defense with very few changes up front and just a couple of guys like Lowry and Kopp who have really broken out and become like much better players. I think this is going to be like a clear-cut second place in the division for them, and I think they could actually make a deep run this season.
Yeah, I mean, like the defense in itself is just, on paper, it looks so much better. Like, they bring in Nate Schmidt, they bring in Brendan Dillon. It allows them to have, some depth of, Logan Stanley, fucking rights, as a 7th man, Ville Heinola. So yeah, I think they've done a really good job setting themselves up. I think they'll be looking for more out of Pierre-Luc Dubois this season, but
it sounds like he's going into this season. Pierre-Luc Dubois is going into this season a lot more comfortable than he was last year. He's going to get a chance to play a lot with Nikolai Ehlers on the second line, so hopefully all the training, all the settling down he's done over the offseason is going to really help him bounce back, because he was not great last year. He is his worst point total, his worst output in his entire career. So they really, they're kind of relying on him as their depth offense option. But a lot of time with Nikolai Ehlers is going to be great for Dubois' offense.
Yeah, Ehlers has been just great. So yeah, I mean, then they've got elite goaltending and Connor Hellebuyck. So
the backup goalie position is going to be a major concern, because Eric Comrie has not ever made a play to stay in the NHL, and his numbers are not good.
Yeah. So they're going to be riding Hellebuyck pretty hard.
Yeah.
So I could see them claiming some goalie that gets sent down.
They're going to be in the market for a backup.
Yeah, I think they claimed Comrie too already on waivers, but I think they
times.
They would probably do that again.
This is like Eric Comrie's third or fourth time being claimed by Winnipeg on waivers.
Welcome back, baby.
Right?
So yeah, I could see them making a move for somebody. Interestingly enough, they lost Sami Niku. He ended up signing somewhere else. I think he went to Montreal or somewhere, and then got hurt in a preseason game. But anyway, yeah, I think that they're definitely going to be, up there in the division as well. They look pretty strong, but I still think, it's Colorado's division. They have had some changes, like they lost Saad, they lost Grubauer, but they bring in Darcy Kemper, who's also a good goalie. I think for them it's going to be a similar story, where their backup goaltender, who is that going to be? Francouz is out.
Jonas Johansson.
Yeah, so the worst goalie in the league, if you ask Buffalo fans.
Or just that one writer, whoever it was.
Yeah, so who knows there, but their defense still looks really good. They brought in Ryan Murray. They'll have Eric Johnson back. How is he going to look?
They could roll with the Johnson pairing this year.
Yeah, Jack Johnson and Eric Johnson. Johnson and Johnson would be a great name for a pairing, but I don't know if I'd want them on there as an Avalanche fan.
I would want them as the 7 and 8 defenseman pairing, as in don't play them.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, they'll have Bowen Byram. He'll be looking to play in more games this season. He had some injury issues last year and was kept out of the lineup, but that they still look so strong. Pretty minimal changes up front. Yeah. They lost Saad, but he didn't really. And he was kind of hit and miss. Well. And Donskoy, in the expansion draft. But they had
streaky middle six forwards.
Yeah, and they had a positive story for them last season was Alex Newhook coming in. He'll be playing the team close to full time probably this year. So yeah, I still think they'll be one of the strongest teams in the league. They were just so good at scoring, and their goals against was super strong too. So I think they'll be the top, and then after them, I guess just kind of talking it out here, but I think Colorado, Winnipeg, and then from there, I don't know, is it Minnesota, St. Louis, Dallas?
I go for the third spot is going to be between St. Louis and Minnesota. And then for the 4-5 spots, or 5-6 spots, pardon me, it'll be probably Chicago and Dallas. I mean, Chicago's trying to push, but I don't see them making enough of an impact to like really change the tide of that division.
I think they could be a real surprise.
Yeah.
They've got the capability. I mean, like last year, Patrick Kane looked like he was just like playing with all these rookies and like making them look super insane. And
he unaged himself a few years and looked prime Patrick Kane again.
Yeah, and
not like he hasn't been, but
had some real chemistry again with Alex DeBrincat after the previous season was a bit of a down year. Jonathan Toews is coming back. He's looked really good in preseason. How's he going to look for over the whole season? I think that's a real question for them. If they have a healthy Jonathan Toews for the full year, they could easily be in the, like looking for that third spot.
Yeah.
If
and
he's around.
The important thing, we'll talk more about this when we get to the Pacific, is that there's a very good chance that both wildcard spots go to this division. So there is possibility for 5 playoff teams out of the Central, which is likely considering, we're stuck deciding between St. Louis, Minnesota, Dallas, and Chicago for the final 2-3 spots.
Yeah.
So that it's very likely that we see 5 playoff teams out of the Central.
Yeah. And I mean, similarly, I think that could be the Metro, right? Maybe not 5, but 4. But yeah, it's going to be a close race, I think. After Colorado, I think, like Minnesota's still got, dollar bill Kirill. Can they bounce back, or not bounce back, but continue the momentum of last season, into this year? Yeah, what is Chicago going to look like? They've spent a lot of money on a lot of guys. They got the Vezina winner. How's he going to look with a shittier defense in front of him? Fleury's made playoffs in every single year of his career. Is this the first year that he misses? Does he put the team on his back and shut the door? I don't know. How does Seth Jones look? He had a really shitty year in Columbus last year. Got a gigantic contract. He's on the same team as his brother. What is that?
Yeah.
What does he look like? Is there a Jones and Jones pairing? Probably not, but there could be. And then, regardless of how the rest of the teams finish, I think it's Nashville and Arizona are going to be on the outside.
There's no way Arizona competes. They're very clearly in tank mode. Did you see their goaltending tandem?
Yeah, you sent me a message about that. It's
I can't even remember. Oh yeah, it's Carter Hutton and Karel Vejmelka. I've never heard of him before.
Yeah, I guess they sent Kojinar, or whatever his name is, down. He's
like a 5th round pick in 2015 out of Nashville, and this is his first season this will be his first season in North America.
Yeah, so
he's been in the Czech leagues ever since he got drafted.
They traded for Kojinar, I think that's how you say it, from San Jose, and then just don't even play him and have Carter Hutton and Vejmelka.
Vejmelka is probably more accurate.
So yeah, they're gonna be bad. But that's where they want to be. There's no way to sugarcoat it. They're gonna be bad.
No. This is kind of the plan where they get an actual rebuild in. They have 8 picks in the first 2 rounds of the next draft, I think.
Yeah.
Or it's either 7 or 8. One of them is a conditional one, I think.
Yeah. So they're going to be right where they want to be.
No, it is 8. It is 8. The condition is just which pick Montreal gives up.
And then Nashville, I just don't see them competing.
Yeah.
They'll probably be like, not the worst team in the league, but I don't think they'll be as great.
They'll be like a
contention.
Very mediocre, probably an 80-point team.
Yeah, unless like the guys that they pay $8 million to, Matt Duchene and Ryan Johansson, unless those $16 million guys like play like they are, earning that much money, I don't see them as doing very well.
So they're supposed to put up more than a point per $1 million?
Yes.
Those guys
suck so bad. So bad. Matt Duchene, 13 points last year. So yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting race in this one after Colorado, but I don't think Colorado's going to be as far ahead as they were last go around here. I do think, it's if Kemper gets hurt, like it's going to be bad. And
even if Colorado is healthy and at their best all season, like the quality of the teams below them, and because hockey can be such a close, back and forth game, they're just going to lose more games because the teams below them are actually good.
Yeah.
Like
that's
it's not even going to be a case of like, they're not as good as we think they are. It's just the other teams right below them and playing them a lot are pretty damn good too.
Yeah, and a team like Dallas, like my fandom of Dallas has been definitely growing in the last couple of years, but they lost like something like 21 goal games. Like they could have very easily have made playoffs last season, and they had like something crazy like it was more than that. It was like 15 overtime losses or something. So they led the league in 1 goal game losses. So they could very easily turn it around.
They had 14 overtime losses, and you can only imagine other 1-goal losses in regulation too.
Yeah. And so, like, hockey, that's PDO, right? Like puck luck. So, what if they won all those games, or what if they won half? They would have been in contention. They would have made playoffs. They would have bumped out the Preds. So, anyway, Central is going to be an interesting one. I don't think it's quite the division of death, but it's going to be a tighter race. So we'll move on here to the Metro division, and this one's actually pretty tough for me. So I'll let you go first. Who's your winner here?
This one took a lot of thought and mental mind games here to kind of wrangle which team is going to succeed. But I'm settling on the Islanders actually winning the division this year. Kind of running through the list, like Carolina, I don't like the moves they made over the offseason, and I don't think they're going to be quite as dominant as they have been.
Plus, we just hate Tony DeAngelo, so
that
we can't
too.
pick
That
them.
too. New Jersey and the Rangers too far away. They're going to be competitive, probably, just out of the playoffs, but they're not going to win. Philadelphia is too much of a wild card to really predict where they're going to be. I think they probably bounce back into a playoff spot, but like winning the division's a bit of a massive swing from last year. Pittsburgh's on the downswing, ending their cup window. Crosby and Malkin out for a bit to begin the season. Don't think that's going to work. In similar situation in Washington, where Ovechkin might be out for a bit at the beginning of the year. Backstrom's on LTIR, and they just aren't the team they were a few years ago. So of all of those teams, the Islanders are the only one left that, the moves they made in the offseason at the end of last season, did nothing but make the team better for the most part. The struggle position for them is going to be left defense, where they basically don't have anyone. They're going to roll with like Andy Green and Zdeno Chara as their 2-3 lefty. So
38 and a 44-year-old.
Yeah. I'm assuming the other Sebastian Aho looked pretty good in preseason, so he's going to be in that mix as well, who's a bit younger and can probably play a bit more games and time per game. But other than that, I mean, they've got Oliver Wahlstrom coming up. He looked pretty good, impressive in his stints last season. He's going to get more of a chance on the third line, I think, with Pajot to really just let his game grow. Noah Dobson's going to get a bigger role this year. He's an offensively talented defender, so I think the Islanders are on the upswing, and this could be their year as well to really take a huge step forward, win that division, and make another deep run.
Yeah, I mean, they've been aside from Tampa, like they've been probably the best playoff team in the last little while here, because they keep making like the division. Well,
two straight seasons they've lost in the conference final to Tampa Bay.
Yeah. So
they, other than Tampa, they are probably the most successful team in the NHL over the last 2 seasons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think that they're in a good place. I picked them to win the division as well. For the reasons that you say, like they haven't gotten worse. And they're still a good team. They're getting Anders Lee back. He had like a hurt leg or something last season.
I think it was like an ACL thing. He got tangled up in front of the net and twisted in a bad way.
Yeah, and so they'll have their captain back. I think that'll be huge. They lost Eberle, but like you said, they've got some other guys that are able to.
I think Wahlstrom's going to be right in that spot for Eberle. I think that's kind of the straight up replacement is Wahlstrom for Eberle.
Yeah, and he, his power play time should go up. He got a lot of power play goals in his time there, so yeah, I think that they're
have
good.
a motivated Zach Parise trying to keep himself relevant in the NHL.
Yeah, for sure. So they're a strong team. I think that they're going to be the first in the division. Then after that, it gets a little tough. I did think the Capitals were going to compete for first in the division, but now with Ovechkin looking like he's going to miss some time and Backstrom out for a significant amount of time, I don't know that like I felt okay when it was Kuznetsov, and Ovechkin on the first line with Tom Wilson, but now that Ovechkin's, I don't know, he's out. I thought that Kuzi would be good at having a bounce back this season, if he was playing with Ovechkin full time. But if they've got some pretty shaky center depth. Like if they're gonna have line 2 center Lars Eller or TJ Oshie, who doesn't play center, playing center. I don't know. I thought that Connor McMichael and Hendrix Lapierre were both going to make the team out of camp, but they sent down Connor McMichael. So I think
I'm pretty sure they called him back up.
Did they? Oh, the last transaction I saw said he was just down.
I think they sent him down yesterday as a paper transaction. I thought they called him back up today.
Ooh, I'm not sure, but Hendrix Lapierre wasn't sent down, so I thought he made the team out of camp. So he might be playing third line center.
So they put Backstrom on LTIR and recalled McMichael and Beck Malenston from Hershey today.
Okay.
So that might have been a paper thing yesterday until they could get Backstrom out on LTIR.
Right. So either way, they've got both Lapierre and McMichael play center. I don't know. It's going to be an interesting year for them. If they are missing Ovi for longer, that's going to be real rough. But aside from the Capitals, the Penguins are usually hard to bet against because of Crosby and Malkin, but Malkin's out for 2 months. Crosby's out for the first couple of weeks. And so, they could have a really poor start to the season, just like the Capitals, and end up with, kind of a tough hole to dig themselves out of once they get their good players back.
And with how competitive the middle of this division is, they can't afford 2 weeks of sucking, to really not damper their chances of competing. Yeah.
And I think teams like the other teams could really benefit from that. Teams like the Rangers and the Flyers, I think, could get off to an early lead in the division. Philly, I thought they were going to win last year, but they were due for their shitty year, and their streak of flip-flopping continued, and so this year they should be good, based on their track record of good year, bad year, good year, bad year, good year, bad year, and this is a good year. So who knows what they'll look like, but they're missing some key pieces right out of the gate, because what's his name? Whoops, that's the wrong team. They're going to be missing. What the hell? Where is he? Kevin Hayes. Right off the bat, he's out with an injury, and so they're basically missing their second line center. So a lot of these teams are just like missing centermen.
It's kind of
Pittsburgh,
weird.
2 centers. Capitals missing a centerman and their best player.
I can't imagine this is their actual projected lineup, but Cap Friendly has Derek Brassard second on their center depth chart.
I don't know. I mean, Claude Giroux plays center, but he's been playing wing a lot, and then Couturier plays center.
Check daily faceoff.
I don't know. But their defense is totally revamped, but a lot of them are banged up going into the season. Like Ellis hasn't been practicing. Ristolainen hasn't been practicing. Who knows? And then, kind of same story. Jones as a backup to Carter Hart. How's that going to look?
I mean, look at these stat lines from last season where Carter Hart had a 367 goals against average, 877 save percentage, and Jones 328 and 896 as your goalie tandem. That's scary.
Yeah, it is. So I think as long as they're scoring, they should be able to win games. But we'll see how they do without a second line center. But I think that they should end up, in the top half of the division. But we'll see. I think that one team that I'm very curious to see how they do this year is the Rangers, because I thought they were doing one thing and they changed gears a little bit. And, they've got a lot of young guys on the team, but brought in some sandpaper, I guess. So, if they make it to playoffs, I could see them winning games. Yeah. It's just, do they make it? But they've got, Adam Fox. They've got some absolutely unbelievable talent up front in Zibanejad and Panarin. So we'll see with them. I think that they make a push as well. Could very easily see this division being like New York Islanders, Pittsburgh, Washington, New York Rangers, maybe something like that with Carolina in the mix. But I think this is going to be the Metrodome. You know, it always is the Metrodome. So
usually it's a battle for the top, but this time I think it's going to be more that battle for the middle part of the division, like that 3 to 5 spot.
Yeah. Last year, Pittsburgh and Washington had like the same points, but Pittsburgh won the tiebreak to win the division. And so I could see them being very easily matched, but I think the Islanders will probably take it.
Yeah.
With Columbus definitely on the outside. Jersey has made a lot of changes, but I don't think they've done. They shouldn't be a playoff team yet.
No.
But maybe in the next couple of years. So anything else about the Metro that you wanted to mention?
Nope, that covers everything. So I think let's flip over to the last division of the league, the Pacific Division. How are you feeling about this one?
Definitely Seattle Kraken, top of the division.
I was going to go with Anaheim.
Yeah, 1 and 2. Yeah, no, I think in this division it's obviously going to be Vegas. I don't imagine it being any other way unless McDavid has like a 200-point season. Which
let's be honest, he said I saw a quote from him today that he wants to become an even bigger scoring threat, so he's practicing one-timers. Like how do you become more of a scoring threat, buddy?
Yeah, he's not important enough to his team. He needs to develop some more skills.
And like this could be great because now you've like usually it's McDavid to Draisaitl for the one time, and now we can go the other way around.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, Vegas first. They're just strong.
Yeah,
strong. They don't have as good as a goalie tandem as they did last year with Fleury and Leonard. So, you know, a lot of teams are kind of moving away from that. It seems that strong two guys. Probably by necessity, just because of money. But
partly money and partly the schedule going back. Because I think last year we saw because you needed 2 goalies to really
just because of the
balance
pace,
the workload.
Yeah, the pace of all the games.
They could easily ride Leonard for 55, 60 games a season if he's healthy.
Yeah, but Leonard's an interesting cat, so we'll
see where he's at through the season.
Yeah, but you know he's obviously a couple seasons removed from his own Vezina, so it's not like they're going to some scrub. But their team is just so good. They've made a few changes here and there, but overall pretty much the same, minus their guy Fleury. But I don't think that'll impact their standings too much. And then I see it as being Edmonton after that. And then I have no idea, to be honest with you. Does San Jose look better? No, I don't know. See how Seattle plays. They have a real shot of making it because this division is so weak. Do the Flames bounce back? Does one of the California teams take a jump? You know, LA was making a bit of a push last year and then fell off. Did they look better with the additions like Dano? Peterson as their starter? I don't know. How about you? What do you think?
There's a 99% chance Vegas wins this division. They're probably like a 115-point team over the full season. There's very little chance that Edmonton's good enough to take the division because I see Edmonton as more like a high 90s to 100-point team. That being said, I think Edmonton is probably a solid lock for second, provided they don't suck even worse than they look on paper. I think Calgary is probably pretty safe to be like a third place team in this division just because the rest of it, like who's going to be a playoff team out of the rest of them. Beyond that, I mean, the next few spots like Seattle, San Jose, and Vancouver, all kind of in similar spots to me where I could see any of them finishing fourth in contention for a wild card spot. Anaheim is absolutely last in this division. They're not far enough in their rebuild yet. I don't think Los Angeles is quite there either, but that's going to be like they could really be like a pesky team, like a shit disturber in this division in the league to really throw a wrench into some teams' playoff plans, and they could probably be competitive just in that middle part of the division, pushing into where Vancouver, San Jose, and Seattle are.
Yeah, and LA released those like retro white jerseys, like the Gretzky style. So nice. But yeah, I mean, like Anaheim, the Drysdale to Zegras connection will be pretty fun to watch for them. A lot of young talent to watch. But yeah, I agree. They're going to be at the bottom. They're not going to be surprising anyone. And yeah, I think Calgary, it's probably a safe bet to have them in that third spot. They've got the talent. Does it come together? They've got first full season again for Daryl. Did the guys come together? Apparently, you mentioned to me that they're in it on Eichel. do they get Jack Eichel?
There's this thing, tweet about the main teams that are left on Jack Eichel are the Flames and the Ducks, based off of medical history and what they're able or willing to give up or something. I can't remember the exact wording of it, but Eichel could be on his way to the Pacific Division over the next month. We'll see.
Yeah, I think if he lands in Calgary, that makes them a real threat. If he lands in Anaheim, I don't think that's enough. I would be really interested to see him go to Calgary. That would be very interesting.
Well, that just adds another element to the Battle of Alberta. The McDavid and Eichel.
Yeah, and the McDavid-Eichel thing. Like, that'd be wild. I hope that something happens with Eichel fast for his sake and for Buffalo's sake. Like, it's just, come on, get this done with.
To echo that sentiment, one of your fantasy teams this season is currently named Please Trade Eichel.
Yeah, because I picked Eichel because I'm not winning that league. So
sit on him for next year.
Yeah, I could have him as a keeper, so I'm fine with him getting traded. But just I mean, like, for his sake, though, it's like, he wants to get that surgery and, he wants to play somewhere else. So just trade him. Like, he's not going to play for you ever again. Just deal him, whatever. I know that they're not going to get value, but it's like, well, you're not.
You never do with that type of a trade. Like, you can't get the value of Jack Eichel back. You're going to get a whole bunch of semi-valuable pieces. Like, we were kind of talking about this over text when this came up, but like, what would Calgary even give up for Jack Eichel? It'd be like Gaudreau/Monahan, a couple of firsts, and like, I can't remember, like Mangiapane or who even they have as a good prospect.
Yeah, I don't know, like Vladar.
He's not even like Buffalo wouldn't want him.
Shillington. Yeah.
And like, those guys are kind of like they were projected to be decent full-time NHLers, but I mean, Valimacky's been hurt and sucked last year, and Shillington's never been able to take a step into the NHL. But they don't have like the prospect pool that Buffalo wants to pull from for Eichel.
Yeah, I know. They haven't been exceptionally good draft-wise, so I don't know who they would give up. It would have to be a lot of picks and someone who's good now, I guess.
It'd be like Connor Zary or Jacob Pelche are probably their best prospects forward-wise anyways.
Yeah.
It'd be like one of them, like Monahan, because they're not going to need the center anymore. Couple of firsts.
Yeah. Who knows? I don't know. It'd be spicy though if he went there. Anyway, as a team stand right now, I think Calgary is probably going to be third, and then I'll say Seattle fourth. I think they've got a shot.
After how badly most of us, myself included, counted Vegas out based off of their on paper roster when they started and what they did in their first season, I'm not gonna count Seattle out. I'm gonna project them fairly highly, just for assuming that players will take a step into the role they're gonna be playing.
Yeah, why not, right? Okay, so those are divisions. Any other storylines or surprises you wanted to mention? Who's your cup pick?
My overall cup pick. I mean, the easy ones are just Tampa and Colorado.
Yeah, you always go with the easy ones.
You have to. I want to put Winnipeg in there as well. I like your thought with Florida. I like the Islanders maybe being able to finally push through into the Cup final and win it. So, if I'm going to go, say, like, top few picks, Tampa, Colorado, Winnipeg, and the Islanders.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. I'll pick one West and one East. I'll pick Florida, and I'll go with Winnipeg. I like that one. Put $50 down, and you'll probably, if they win, you'll end up getting a lot of money probably. So
Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah, I saw some of the odds were pretty crazy. I mean, even for like Toronto, like the odds are pretty favorable.
Yeah. I think it's just
to
because they
bet
have
on.
such a tough division to go through.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So one Canadian team, one team that hasn't won in a playoff series for like 23 years for me. So good luck.
That wraps things up for this time here on Clappercast. Make sure you rate and review this episode and toss a follow or subscribe our way. For more content, you can follow us on Facebook or Instagram at Clappercast Media or on Twitter at Clappercast. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll be back next week with more hockey talk.